because we've got so much that goes up on this channel every week. We actually have to have a pretty strict filming schedule. And this particular program, Trinity Talk Devotions, even though it doesn't air till Thursday, it actually films on Tuesdays. So as I'm recording this for you, for me anyway, it's actually Tuesday, September 11th. And that is a date that obviously carries a lot of weight with it. I mean, I don't know about you. I remember where I was when the incident happened at the two towers. I was at work. We had those little TVs, those TV VCR combo units. It was in my office. And so the entire law firm, I was a young lawyer at the time, the entire law firm was kind of crammed into my office trying to watch this one small screen as all those events unfolded. And that made me think of what I wanted to cover in my devotion today. And that is, look, all of us at some point in our lives go through pain. We go through suffering. Now, obviously, it can be of varying degrees, but we all experience it. If it's a universal given of the human experience. And so the question is, how do we respond? As Christians, how do we respond when this happens, either to us or to someone else? And I want to give you 3 thoughts today about that. The first thought is just to remember who our Lord is. Jesus Christ became human. And when he did that, he went through the full human experience. Now, a lot of people focus at this point on the crucifixion. And obviously he did go through an immense amount of pain and torture at the crucifixion. He was physically tortured. He was killed on a cross. And so when it comes to physical pain, he's certainly been there. But it's more than that. Understand, when I say Jesus experienced the full human experience, he experienced emotional pain as well. One of the most powerful verses in the Bible is simply, Jesus wept. When Lazarus died, and Jesus felt the emotional impact of that, of his friend passing away, of the impact it was having on his other friends around him. And so even within our emotional struggles, we can get some assurance that Jesus has been through that as well. He understands, and we have a Lord that we can talk to and know that he can connect with us on that level. He's not so far above us that he doesn't understand what we're going through, because he emptied himself to experience it himself. The second thought that I want to raise with you is freedom. People ask, why would God allow this type of thing to happen? Well, one potential answer to that, I do want to preface this by saying, look, on a specific basis, we're never going to know specifically why God has allowed any particular item of pain or suffering that we've experienced in our life. But what we can know is kind of some general ideas about why he might, in general, allow pain and allow suffering. And it gives us enough reassurance to trust that we do have a God that does care for us. And one response, one reason why God might sometimes allow pain and suffering has to do with freedom. If you think about it, we all value our freedom. Nobody wants to be a mindless robot who literally has no choice whether to turn left or whether to turn right. We want the ability to freely choose our actions. We value the ability to freely choose our actions. It is loving of God to allow us to freely choose our actions. But with freedom comes the freedom to choose both good and to choose evil. And some people are going to choose evil. And not all, but a good portion of the pain and suffering that we see in this world is the result of people doing precisely that, choosing evil over the good. Unfortunately, that's the price we pay. In order to have true freedom, we're also going to have some evil acts committed in the world. And the third thing I want to mention here is, by way of analogy, imagine if you saw a young child that was reaching for a hot burner, and the mother grabbed that child's hand and yanked it away from that burner before they actually got to touch it. Well, the act of grabbing that child's arm or hand and pulling it away is going to cause that child some pain. But I think we can all see where that pain's justified, because the alternative is much, much worse. And this just goes to show you that sometimes there are instances of pain and suffering that we might go through, and we might not be able to see the reason for it, just like that child may not have understood that they were about to burn their hand, but God does. And so it may be for our ultimate benefit. An example of this would be character building. If you think about some positive character attributes that we praise in humanity, whether it be courage, patience, for example. Well, in order to exhibit courage, to develop courage, you have to be confronted with dangers. In order to develop patience, you have to be confronted with things that are going to test that patience, obviously. And so there's some amount of suffering that we might go through in this world that could actually help build our character and develop our good character traits. Again, neither one of these am I saying explains all pain and suffering in the world. It's more of a cumulative case, but it's just enough to give us a general idea about some examples of reasons why God might allow pain and suffering, so that we know that, yes, we can still trust him. I want to close today with a couple of verses from the book of Isaiah that illustrates this. And This is God talking, and he says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Isaiah 55, verses 8 and 9. Again, we're not going to know. We're finite creatures. God's infinite. Just like that toddler might not have understood that they were about to burn their hand by touching that hot burner, but the mother did. There are going to be things that we're just not going to be able to comprehend in this life, but God does. And just like Job had to learn when he was confronting God, the answer to some of these things is a little bit of humility, to recognize what we don't know, and to recognize that we do have an infinite God who knows everything and that we can trust. It's not easy sometimes, I know, but when we're confronted with pain and suffering, he's given us enough, I think, to justify the trust in him. All right? You all have a good week. God bless.